Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. Great. Now, for the next 20 minutes, I will explain to you how we at Deloitte help boost your start or scale up throughout its journey. Now, my name is Anaïs De Boulle. I am a legal partner within Deloitte, and I also lead our scale up ecosystem program. Now, before we kick off, I first want to show you this QR code in case you have any questions. Scan the code and leave them behind. I will treat them at the end. Now, let me maybe start with a little quiz, or just to see what the temperature in the room is. Who today here has already heard about the Deloitte Fast 50? I see one hand. That's it? Only one person? Fast 50 Rising Star? No? Okay. We already had 11 editions, by the way. And then, maybe directly to the one person, because it's a build-up question. Did you know that we at Deloitte had, beyond the Fast 50 competition, also have an entire scale-up program? Yeah, you did? Okay, that's you get. I'll give you a gift afterwards. Okay, that's great to hear. But then for everyone else, it will be interesting for you to learn what we have going on at Deloitte to boost growth for tech start scale-ups. Now and I'll first go one step back once again. What is actually the mission with our scale-up ecosystem program is we try to nurture the future winning companies, and we support them on their journey into becoming a mature company. That makes sense? Now, how do we exactly do that? Like every big consultant company, we need to have a proper value proposition. So in this case, it is fivefold. First of all, what do we try to do with our scale-up ecosystem program? We try to connect our current clients, the big corporate clients, the SMEs, with the start scale-ups that we are in contact with. So that means that we spend quite a bit of time into warm introductions and matchmaking the two. And who knows, it might lead to an investment, to business, to an acquisition, and the sorts. Secondly, we also try to provide as much visibility and recognition to start scale-ups. And therefore, we, for example, make use of our Fast 50 program. We also have other initiatives. And we also try to leverage on the network that we already have. You probably know that Deloitte is quite a big organization that is located in lots of other countries. Well, we try to make use of that capabilities also to help the growth of the start scale-ups that we are in contact with. For example, one wants to get in contact with Index, the important VC, then we will try to reach out to our UK colleagues and see if we can connect the dots there. So it makes the world a bit smaller, leveraging on that network. Thirdly, we also explore selling together. And I'm pretty sure that most of you don't know this, because we try to do it very selectively and also do not make a big fuss out of it. But what I basically mean with that is, with Deloitte, we're a professional services company. We're not a tech company. We will never be one. But where we can team up with a tech company, we will most happily do so, if it is a win-win. And that can mean in a subcontracting way of working, in a partnership, or even in a full-blown alliance. Fourthly, we obviously also provide our expertise where we can to in the growth journey. And fifthly, we try to have a voice in the public debate. And that means, for example, we have market research that we conduct once in a while, and we try to also help out that the future winning tech companies here and all the innovation that they bring, that they at least do not have to move out of Belgium. Same for the investors, that we can help create a climate that is interesting for them to stay around here. Now the next slide is one where we try to visualize what the growth journey kind of looks about and what the challenges are. And let me start explaining you this one. So it's actually divided in 3 big steps. First one is emerging, second one growing, and third one is maturing. What do I want you to remember of that? You see that we had some characteristics added to that. For example, emerging is less than 4 years old and a team of about 1 to 10 people big. Growing builds on top of that. But you see that nowhere we have added revenue numbers on that, because that's so hard to predict, and that really depends on the industry or the segment that your tech company is operating in. And I'm sure that most of you will agree on that. But as you will see, in the emerging phase, there, for example, it's the MVP that should be validated. Then moving on to the growing phase, there you want to get your operations scaling, you get the first traction, and you already start thinking of expanding. While once maturing, you're there, and then you want to fully professionalize your organization. Now, with our scale-up program, I could say that we kind of have our sweet spot here at the middle, with those that already have product market fit, that already have revenue generated. Yet, we also are very happy to interact with companies more early stage in case we're talking about deep tech. What do I mean with deep tech? Life science healthcare, under which we consider biotech, medtech, health tech, sports tech, but also agri-tech, food tech, space tech, defense tech, all the ones, as you can imagine, that require quite a bit of R&D, that are quite capital intense, and where the commercialization to market goes a bit slower than, for example, if you have a B2B ERP package. Make sense? Now, within our scale-up ecosystem, we see that the typical kind of challenges that a growing company meets can always kind of be linked to one of these 7. Growth or strategy, digital operations, and I'll explain to you a bit more what that all means, accounting, tax and assurance, legal risk and compliance, also huge topic that where we consider IP, contracting, compliance, shareholders and funding, negotiating deals, redlining, and so on. To the left side, tax scalability and security, that's ISO certification, pen testing, and so on. Funding and liquidity management, that's searching for funding, but also optimizing your working capital. And obviously also talent and organization, simply said, everything concerning team. If one of you considers that a certain challenge of a growing company is not yet on that, then I kindly invite you to leave me that question using the QR code. Now remember the 3 phases in the trajectory that I just explained to you. And remember the 7 kind of challenges that we see that growing companies come across. Now what we did here is actually plot what we typically see when which kind of challenge comes about. So basically said, everything in terms of legal risk and compliance, accounting, tax and assurance, funding and liquidity management, and team-like, we see that already early on being a reality, that you're struggling there or trying to find solutions for that. While growth and strategy, or for example, trying to see if you want to grow, for example, using a buy and build strategy, that is something that comes along typically a bit later. And then looking for the right digital operations and tech scalability, making sure that your technology is future proof and that your investors can rest assured that this is something where it can be further built upon. That is definitely already in the midst of the growing and more tendencies towards the maturing phase. Now, let's go back to our scale-up, who has, as you can see, 7 different chambers. And let me give you a few more examples of use cases, of names that you probably know that we have helped going forward with these challenges. So I will not tell you, if I give some examples, I will not tell you to which name it links. But for example, in terms of growth and strategy, what we typically help with is, for example, helping determine if you want to internationally expand, which country you should first grow to. Because sometimes it's, following one of your customers, but other times you want to do it really profound. You want to make a mini study out of this and see where you put your budget, if that is the country that will get you most traction. Sometimes it's more thinking together with the founders who are considering a certain pivot in their business model to get that crisp and clear. Other times, what else is there? We, for example, help them think of what is the ideal customer, the prospect that you should be going after. Because let's be honest, all in the beginning, we're just trying to gain traction, but we actually do not really know who we should be aiming at, who we should be, and what the profile of that ideal customer is. So that is all things that we deal with under growth. Now, next on digital operations, and I guess we're at the perfect event to tackle that. What do we mean with that? Thinking of the processes and the digital tools that you want to be using to further growth. So ERP, CRM. I guess most of you probably are using HubSpot, but when should you be considering a Salesforce? What, for example, is the best accounting software that you can use? At what moment do you want to start using an ERP, and what then tailored to your needs is the one that you should be focusing at? So these are all kinds of topics that we then deal with in terms of digital operation. Accounting, tax, and assurance. I guess that kind of speaks for itself, what we mean with that. But far too often, in the plus 10 years I already work with start scale-ups, we see that they pick out a partner that is cheap, that is very local, and that helps them to some extent, yet the business is maturing, is growing, and then you want to make sure that you have one of these partners that thinks along with you, that proactively suggests you to do analytical accounting, for example, or for example, to start doing tax savings, tax optimizations. Far too often, and even with like already the bigger start scale-ups that we see, revenue recognition is not done right, or we see that they're not making use of all the tax optimization channels that Belgium provides, because actually for that case, Belgium is quite a good country to grow your start scale up in. So make sure that you challenge your partners around that and that you make use. It's good to go and find funding or to go and find subsidies, but it's even better to start using these tax optimizations, because that's a no-brainer. That's otherwise leaving money on the table. Legal risk and compliance. I guess you will all agree that in the course of growth, you come across quite a bit of legal challenges, but you don't always know, do I need to ask this to a law firm? Do I tackle this myself? I see that quite a bit of CFOs also have the lead in terms of legal, but sometimes you just want to have a legal opinion in, for example, a contract proposal for a big deal that you have, and you just want to have some redlining for that. Also make sure that you there find a legal partner who helps you in and who does it on a very hands-on and pragmatic way to do so. And it's not immediately necessary to hire an in-house counsel. I think the space of in-house counsels for tech start scale-ups is only now starting to grow, because you already need a high volume of matters to have a full-time equivalent to deal with that. So try and think of outsourcing it, but in a more dynamic and future-proof way that makes it affordable and that makes sure that the legal partner that you're working together with can, follow you in the speed of things. So try and use it, especially this kind of legal help in the daily operations. In case you want more explanation on how we can help, then definitely leave some questions using the QR code. Tax scalability and security. I already said so. That contains ISO certification, pen testing. Definitely if you see that you want to onboard a certain kind of vendors, the big corporates, big financial institution, that this will be something, the ISO certification, that you need to consider quite early on. So make that investment because it really gives you the necessary credibility that should. But also pen testing is a really important one. And I know it requires a big chunk of your budget, but it makes sure that you then get into a certain space of clients, the bigger clients that you need and where it will be a condition that you cannot do without. Now, funding and liquidity management, obviously really important in terms of tech start and scale-ups. And that ranges from optimizing your working capital. It ranges from making use of all the subsidies and grants there are. Also, make sure that, I know that at the beginning, it's pretty normal that you fill out the subsidy applications yourself. But after a while, you really need to wonder, is it still something that I want one of my resources to deal with? Or could it be something that I can outsource and then work with, a success fee? And only if then the subsidy gets won, then I will have to pay a certain amount to that stakeholder. Because your time is scarce. So you need to really consider what you want to outsource and what you don't. Now, in terms of fundraising, that obviously both entails equity, but also debt. Whenever raising money through equity, that is also the perfect momentum to go to your bank and ask for a loan. And obviously this also contains everything in terms of exit guidance. We run our yearly scale-up ecosystem confidence survey, and there we always pause at how many people have an exit plan. And within the Belgian responses, it's surprising to see that 70% does not have an exit plan, does not know what target they're trying to work at, what they're aiming at in terms of acquisition, IPO, and so on. So try to already consider that at the beginning. Then talent and organization. As I said, everything considering team and HR. That can range from benchmarking of your wages. It can also mean what kind of policies do you need? Help with hiring a certain person. Help with also dismissal. Do not make the mistake that I see quite often with start scale-ups. Definitely if they get international traction, is that you use the same employment contract for these foreign employers, because you don't want to have a lawsuit to see that a non-compete in Belgium is not the same as a non-compete in Italy. So these are, otherwise, that's money not well spent. What else does it have? Sometimes this also requires outsourcing your HR, your procedure. What do I mean with HR procedure? It means actually seeking out and hiring and doing all the solicitation interviews with the candidates. This is something which you can also outsource. Just to give you an idea, for Landsweeper with their US office, we did the full hiring of that. So they fully outsourced that, and they could rest assured that we hired all the right profiles for them. Okay, we're almost getting to the end. What else can I say about our Scale-Up Ecosystem program? Like every good ecosystem, you can never consider yourself as the center of it. An ecosystem only works by a nice and a balanced interaction between all stakeholders. And that is also how we look at it. So as you can tell, we have quite a bit of partnerships going on that we enter into on a yearly basis and reconsider and try to keep track of what is important partners to work together with. And then, for example, IMEC iStart is a really important one. We can provide them names, they can provide us names. Obviously, you also know that they are an early stage type of investor. So these are all good spaces to be in. Always make sure that within your network, you're also not afraid to ask for help or to ask for introduction to a certain organization, but also to their organization who they're partnering with. At least that is what we're really putting these partnerships into action. Now moving on to the right, we also have our own Deloitte initiatives. As the one guy, and I hope by now it's a bit more people than one who have already heard about our Fast 50 competition. As said, we now are organizing this year our 11th edition. And that means that we attract quite a bit of visibility to these upcoming names or maybe already well-known tech names. And this visibility, this actually then results in attracting talent, attracting money, hopefully, by VCs, and hopefully also attracting deals. And this is also the feedback that we get. So where you can also try to participate in these kind of games. And maybe to close off with, I know that we're running out of time, but we're always seeking out for these different collaboration models within the market space or within the marketplace with the start scale-ups. And what do I want you to remember of this one? We're not just, as you can see from the top end, selling services to start scale-ups. No, we're doing quite a bit more. By the way, we have more than 8 customers. I just wanted to give you a sense of, it's all kind of different maturity stages, all kinds of different industries. But where we can, I'm always extremely proud if we can position a tech start scale-up as a new vendor or supplier to Deloitte. If we can throw out one of the big guys and replace them by one of the pioneers of innovation. And then to the left side, where we can, as said, we always consider also jointly going to market with tech companies that can be as an implementation partner, as we now, for example, are presenting to you today with Odoo as our new implementation program. But also now, we just signed a contract with Donna as we acting as one of their new referral partners. So where you can, but also be patient, and I know that we're very selective on that, but where you can, also try to pitch that and discover if there is any room for activity there, because obviously this is also one of the best ways for you to grow and to also collaborate with organizations like ourselves. Voila. And now coming to the end of my presentation, I've showed the QR code at the beginning, so raise your hand if you want me to show it again. Now I'm just showing you the QR of my LinkedIn. Hi, Joe.
Hello. Hello. I don't know if this is going into headphones or not. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you so much, Anaïs. That was a great talk. We are now taking questions, so please fill your questions on the pad for the QR code. Maybe you can go back to the QR code for the pad if you do have any questions. We have one question here, which is kind of like 2 questions. I think it's very interesting. The first one is, when and how do you support leadership, or when and how do you support leadership changes? For example, the founder might be the product owner or the developer of the product, but they might not be best fitted to scale into being like a 50-employee company.
Yeah, indeed.
So
great
how do you
question.
Or manage that?
That is actually from, if you consider again the 7 different challenges that you can come across with, that to me is a combination of 2, of both the strategy and growth and the talent and organization. And sometimes we even combine these 2. And that means, for example, that we run a short lab where we, together with that and the other founders, sometimes even the investors are being involved in that, where we kind of push on what is the actual pitfall here and where you feel that not everyone is aligned. Now we're trying to get to the core of that issue then, and then try together with the team, and that sometimes even involves like one-on-one interviews, so to get the real sincere feedback of everyone. Then we bring the entire group back together, and then we try to inspire them and to advise them on a certain plan. And that sometimes also entails indeed, like in the, I'm sure that's not the right word, organigram, like the structure of like the entire, that is also something that you don't have that at at an early stage startup. But once the team is growing and you, for example, have a partner helping you with any types of HR things, this is also something that will be challenged. Like, where are the direct reporting lines? Is that person reporting to the right person? And that one person that, for example, has 10 people reporting to him or her, is he actually fit for the job? And that sometimes requires putting a mirror to that person and then kind of reshuffling how the structure of that company looks like. I could give you many names of where we've done so, that the founder, you can be the perfect founder for a product, but you cannot be the right manager to further grow your company.
Great answer. Okay, the next one is, what are the business characteristics that one of your clients would have for you to recommend the Odoo stack for their digital operations? So why would you recommend Odoo to some clients rather than HubSpot or rather than another one of your partners?
I would think that one of my colleagues at the booth would better answer that question than myself. I said, I know a bit of everything, but I definitely invite that person to take contact with one of my colleagues to see what the specifics are, because it is a certain characteristics. You first need to see what are the business processes, what do you want to gain out of it, to then see indeed why we can best recommend Odoo. As said, we just only announced this last week, so I'm also very happy to discover, and to get to know it a bit more.
Absolutely, well I hope we can do that today. Next question is, do you offer the scale-up program in any other countries in Europe, or is it just Belgium?
Yes, no, we have it in other countries as well. This is like we have Fast 50 as also a European and even a US program. We also have this in more geos, so in the UK, in the Netherlands, in France, Germany, okay. Switzerland, and we try to align this as much as possible. Obviously, with a kind of national flavors here and there, because every scale-up scene and ecosystem is different. There we have to be honest about. But we try to make sure that the big governmental structure out of it is at least aligned.
Right. Okay, we have a couple more questions here. One of them is, how long has Odoo been in the Fast 50 list in Belgium?
I don't know. Let me take a look at Koen. How long has Odoo been in the Fast 50 list? 11? Could be, sort of. Okay. So that would mean all editions, which is, I think, du jamais vu.
Okay. Next question is the program a complete subsidy, or is it associated with costs?
No, it is, let me be very honest in that. First of all, to enter this program, it doesn't cost anything. It's more about relation building, us like having a lot of conversations to fully understand your technology, to see where it can be of added value to our businesses, and then we just start discussing that. But be patient. Remember, we're a big tank. You are very agile and small, but if you're patient, as you could tell from all the collaborations that we have, there is definitely quite a bit of potential there to do so.
Right. Okay, that's all we have time for, but thank you very much again.
You're very welcome.
And thank you everyone.
Bye.